Another bit is documentation. My goodness, no one prepares you for the amount of documentation you need to either do, you as the PM, or to review as the PM, because remember, you are the one that is talking to the client side and to your team. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Data Talks with Lauren. This is a show we talk about emerging trends in the data world to enable people to stay informed. In today's episode, I will be taking you through data skills that a project manager who is leading data projects can be able to take away from, plus what extra skills could be required in such a scenario. My name is Lauren Anduvare. I am the host of this show. All right, so let's get into it. So before we even dive into the actual episode, I have been a data project manager for the longest time. It's been about, I think, 8 years now. And my role doubled up as a data analyst before, because I did data projects as an analyst. And then I did get a promotion to be a project manager in the data industry. So I've seen all these emerging technologies like come up from just when people wanted data analysis to now when people want generative AI in their projects. So the tips I'm going to take you through are in regards to specifically someone in the data industry, okay? So let's dive into it. So for the first one, it's important as a data project manager or a project manager in a technical space to be able to understand the technical terminologies. Knowing these technical terminologies help you to be a bridge between the clients and the business in terms of like us pitching as a business to you as a client who wants a data project to be implemented in your organization. So it will be important to know some terminologies to use when I'm coming to pitch to you as a client, right? So it's good to know these technologies. And then also now when you're into the project itself, when you're now interacting with the business users and the technical team, it helps you speak eloquently and knowing what you are saying, right? Because you don't want a situation where you're trying to advise someone in terms of their costs and you have no idea what kind of solutions you're proposing, maybe in an instance of a cloud environment, right? So it helps you to understand or bridge the gap between the technical team and the business users. So the business users could just easily say things they're used to in their context, but then now you as the PM who knows these terminologies, you get to interject or rather to bridge to now the technical team in terms of what you expect them to give you as the data team, right? So first bit, knowing the terminologies, it helps you in that. And then also when it comes to actually running the project, it helps you as a PM to say no to some of the things because you already know what it takes to do certain reports or to do certain processes. So if someone, let's say in the later stages of the project, a client wants to see a new report, if it's something that can be easily incorporated, cool, we'll do that because already the query has been created, the view is there, so it's easily doing that in terms of now the dashboard or visualization side. But if it's something that needs a whole process from now extracting, transforming and loading, and then now creating a whole new query about it, then you're at that point you have a right to say no because the timeline won't allow for such room, okay? And then knowing these terminologies also help you to pitch. You can act as a salesperson for the organization because now you're talking things that, okay, here we are, now let's go to the next level in terms of this data project. So it helps you double up as the salesperson, helps you double up as the business analyst, helps you double up as the data analyst in some cases, or data engineer. And also to your team, you're able to advise them what to use where, if it's a data visualization. You're also able to help them come up with ideas that satisfy what the client would like to see. So moving on to point number 2, technical releases and emerging trends. My friends, there is so much that keeps coming up in this industry of technology. Data and tech generally, a lot is coming up every day, right? When I started this, being a project manager back then, we only knew of data analytics. Then it evolved to, some cool fancy names and some new technologies coming up. You hear data lake, you hear At some point even we coined our word, which I don't know if it ended up being a word, but we were saying data lagoon since there's a data lake. So there's so much emerging technologies coming up every day. We have now aspects of chatbot. We have aspects of generative AI, which are the likes of ChatGPT, that are coming up every day. And clients want to see, they want to keep up with these trends. They don't want only to be, data analysts. They don't want only to see data analysis. They also want to see these new things that people are talking about out here implemented in their own organizations. So you as a PM, you really need to keep up with these emerging trends. And how can you do this? By listening to podcasts, by listening to YouTube, by watching YouTube episodes like this one, Data Talks with Loren, where I'm teaching you emerging trends in the data world to enable you to stay informed, right? You can keep up with trends also by learning, right? You can use sites like Microsoft that give you courses that teach you these emerging trends. So certifications can also emerge from these courses. You can go a step further just to show that you've actually read and have these certifications, which are a plus in any job application that you're doing. Point number 3, treat each project differently. This applies to all the other projects, not only data projects. But speaking of data projects, they have different requirements. They have different solution architectures. They have different infrastructure. So you really need to approach this with keenness and understanding that whatever might have worked for client A might not work for client B. This does not only apply to implementation, but also the company culture, the people, the politics, the kind of communication, the way they communicate, the channels of communication. So you need to treat each project independently and approach them in such a manner. And also, over time, learn to unlearn. Because sometimes what worked down the lane 5 years ago might not be the same thing that's working right now. So you need to unlearn whatever you knew back then that worked for you back then and try to evolve, go with the evolution of either the trends of technology that are coming up, or also just the way you're managing the project and the way you are representing the data and the data information in terms of visuals, and even the solutions that are being offered. So unlearn, learn if you need to, okay? Then number 4, team dynamics. So sometimes as a PM, like I said, you can double up as a BA, you can double up as a data analyst, data engineer. So also understand the same concept to do a team. Because I understand, like, for the people I've worked with, they always have knowledge in all these different areas. And what I try to do from time to time when I'm managing the project is to maybe, if right now the current scope or whatever is being done in this current sprint involves, like, for example, data engineering. So I try to find out from the rest of the team who would like to support at this point in time, because next week we'll need more front-end people than back-end. So at that point, whoever wants to do the data engineering bit, extracting of data, transforming, loading, and also just writing queries and views, they join the team at the back-end. Because at that point, we now need a lot of effort being put in the back-end. Then now when it comes to the front end, we'll now see again who wants to double up on this at this point. Because remember, again, you're doing this in an agile manner because you want things to be developed quickly and to be developed within a short time for the client to be able to see quick wins over time, so that as you're moving on to the project, whoever wants to double up, they can double up and step up whenever needed. Or for example, if you have one data engineer and one data analyst, say the engineer falls sick, so that analyst will need to step up in that role. So again, it helps within the dynamics, trying to put people in different areas so that they're not just caught off guard or unaware of what's happening. Again, you won't have a team sitting saying, oh, this is not my role, I'll just wait for whoever needs to do their role to fill it up before I do my role. Because time is moving, time waits for no man. So at this point in time, you won't have a team of 4 people sitting idle, yet 2 people are heavily loaded in the back end. So team dynamics and trying to, just encourage them and put some motivation in them and just pushing them beyond their limits so that they're able to deliver. Because at the end of the day, it's a team and we all need to win, right? So there's the bit also of value addition. So as a PM, you want to put some value either to the company or to the client. Let me explain how I've done this in the past. So to the client, after the data project is over. Say they wanted a data analytics project, you've delivered the reports, they're happy, validation has been done, the numbers are correct. So you want to encourage them and say, okay, so what are you thinking next? There is robotic process automation, there is, chatbots which can help you easily, talk to, if it's a customer service, it can limit the time, and the chatbot can be able to answer to questions which otherwise will require human intervention, obvious questions, that is, right? So it helps to now bring in these conversations, yeah? And you can do this by creating a roadmap for them. You can tell them, oh, hey, I see the data analysis is working for you, but now these are the things you need to consider. But the next step for you could be an immediate step of now moving on to, let's say, artificial intelligence or machine learning. You want to now move into this next step, and then the third step could be now you bring in generative AI into the picture, and this will help you as a company. So having such conversations with the client helps them open their mind into what endless possibilities they could now incorporate in their organization. So you create a roadmap for them, you share it with them, and when they're ready, they'll definitely give you a call. How it benefits you as the company is that because you're now having these conversations with the client, and if, let's say, the project goes through as a second phase or a third phase, the money is coming back to the company. And you as a PM or whoever you are having these conversations with, eventually you also grow in terms of now either being given a commission or also just motivational, because now you're able to sell, even as much as you're the PM or as much as you're the data lead or the technical lead, you're still able to sell and scale these solutions to newer levels. So that's how you can benefit as the company. And also have client relationships and engagement, good client relationships, because these data projects sometimes they don't end. Always someone will want something else. So if you've not had a good rapport in the first phase, it becomes harder for you to have such engaging conversations in the previous point, because now you've already clashed. There's nothing really you can talk to them about, because now they're just like, I don't want to work with that person ever again. So even if you're bringing in something nice, it's harder for them to say yes to it, because they'll just be like, I don't want to work with them. Or alternatively, they look for someone else who is able to do the job. So as much as it's you who has pitched to them, they look for another consultant that will do the job. So ensure the client relationships and engagement are aligned and are good in a way that builds either of you as the client or as the company who is hiring this, hiring you as the consultant, okay? Point number 7, as a data PM, you need to be aware of the pricing. You know why? The previous points that I talked about you pitching and telling them these good things, the next question they're going to ask you, how much is it? How much will it cost us? So if you're not aware of this pricing and how they're done, then it becomes an issue. You need to have a ballpark figure that you'll talk to them about. And if not, you'll tell them, oh, hey, I have this initial figure, but we can talk more on what the scope will be. We can have a requirements gathering session, which now after I hear more about what you want to see in this second phase or third phase, then I can be able to have a concrete plan and a concrete pricing that I will share with you. That could be how the conversation will go. Because every time they're usually very pressing to ask you how much. So you need to have something in mind, at least for an initial conversation, then now share further details down the line. And then another point, hey, QA. See, now we're dealing with numbers, okay? So you need to have a quality assurance eye, right? You need to be able to at least tell, hey, this one is off, this figure is off, or this dashboard, these numbers they do not tally. We got this in, we're dealing with this department, but you guys are saying this is the correct figure. So who is right? So that quality assurance check helps. And then also in terms of just the displaying of the visuals, my friends, hey, there's a lot that needs to be considered, because then you have to ensure the fonts are okay in terms of the dashboard presentation. The alignment is in check. So ensure everything is aligned. Have even a QA checklist. I encourage my people, my team, to have a QA checklist and refer to this QA checklist, so that all of us, as much as we are 4 in this team and everyone is doing their dashboard, they refer to this QA checklist so that they have the correct font sizes, they have the correct title names, they have the correct type of case, whether it's sentence case or uppercase, they're referring to that, so that everyone is aligned and you don't have to do the same work over and over again, because now they just have a reference point that they're looking at. Even in terms of the colors, what colors are we using? In terms of the axis, we have a bar graph, x-axis, y-axis. What are we putting there? What are we putting labels? Are we having titles on the axis? If so, which kind of font are we using? What size? Are we having data labels, the actual labels now, like 1,000 for amounts in terms of the y-axis, or over time for x-axis? Are we having these labels? What are we displaying in these charts in terms of the font of the actual charts, the widgets, what I like calling them? What are we calling them? Are we having titles for them? And in what cases do we now exclude the titles? Because sometimes the dashboard title already speaks to what the widgets are talking about. So sometimes there's no need to have another title repeating what the initial dashboard is talking about, okay? So QA, important, and you as the PM needs to lead this data team in implementing this. Another bit is documentation. My goodness, no one prepares you for the amount of documentation you need to either do, you as the PM, or to review as the PM, because remember, you are the one that is talking to the client side and to your team. So you're heavily involved from requirements gathering, okay? The documentation I talked about in requirements gathering episode, that one is the one I'm still talking about. So that one is where your first point of documentation starts. Then now there is documentation to do with the actual project, like for instance, the QA checklist in terms of now that specific data project. And then there is now documentation in terms of solution architecture and design. It's a whole document on its own. Then during the requirements gathering, sometimes you as the technical team need to submit what kind of solution, and what kind of environment do you need, infrastructure setup basically. So such a documentation needs to be submitted saying, oh, we need in this environment, in the test environment or staging environment, we need to have an SQL server, 2022, we need to have a Power BI desktop, we need to have a Visual Studio, which will help now with the ETL. So you need to be very clear on what exactly you want, and this is put in the specifications or infrastructure document. Then there's the documentation in terms of now the dashboards. Dashboards now at the end of the project, you want to create sort of a manual and to say, in this dashboard, this is how the calculations were done. This is the DAX formula that is involved in this calculation. This is the KPI, how the KPIs were come about. If it's, let's say, amount, we took some of, let's say, the sales or some of the profits, then you put it in that KPI. So this dashboard documentation basically helps them in future when you're not there as this project team. They can be able to refer to it and still have they can know before calling you all the time to ask you, what did you do here? What did you do here? Or if someone else takes over the project in their internal setup, then they're able to just refer easily and be able to know, oh, this is how they generated this. So it's very important. It's critical to have all this information documented. And then in terms of just emails, communications, if we're having a meeting, we'll definitely need a minutes document that will say, okay, in this meeting, we talked about the validation of numbers for this report. But what was said of this report? Initially it was correct, but it changed because of this, because the logic may be changed. So you need to factor in all this and have a reference point so that if asked, let's say by someone else, you're still able to refer on minutes for this day. We used this logic, but you were told again on this other day to use this logic. Okay, so such documents really help keep track of the project. Then the issue tracker, if whatever you discussed in the meeting and it's in the minutes, you now translate them into an issue tracker so that you're able to confirm if it was resolved or if you need any follow-ups, you keep track of them. And if the status is complete, you mark there complete, it's in green, everyone is happy. At the end of the project, you need a sign-off document so that they confirm these are the number of reports we started in requirements gathering. But if there are any reports which were shelved, then what was the reason behind it? Maybe data was not there. So if data was not there, that's something that you really can't handle at this point in time. But if there will be any fuss about it, or if the data is available at some point in the future, then cool, we'll be able to develop this report. So you need such a document to now sign off during the project so that you know the status of the project during closure. I hope this has been a useful episode. I hope you data PMs can be able to borrow a few items from this episode and use them in your data projects.